Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Deliverance from Error, Al-Munqidh min al-Dalal, and we have reached the doctrine of Ta'limism and its danger. Al-Qawlu fi madhhab al-Ta'lim wa gha'ilatihi. And this is really about the Batiniyya, the Batinites, the esoterics. He said, when I had finished the science of philosophy, because we talk about the mutakallimun, the philosophy, the philosophers. We talk about the four classes of seekers, and number three is the people of ta'lim. When I had finished the science of philosophy, having mastered and understood it, and pinpointed its errors, I knew that philosophy also was inadequate to satisfy my aim fully. Remember, he was still seeking indubitable knowledge. That's really his path. That is really. This is why you say the Deliverance Where is biographic. It's like a biography, but it's not about food and it's not about mundane things. It's about ideas. It's about faith. It's about the indubitable sources of knowledge. It's about spirituality. It's about the reality of things. So now we are talking about the ta'limism. I knew that philosophy also was inadequate to satisfy my aim fully. I also realized that reason alone is incapable of fully grasping all problems or of getting to the heart of all difficulties. Reason is incapable. The statement in Arabic is extremely beautiful. وأن العقل ليس مستقلا بالإحاطة بجميع المطالب ولا كاشف الغطاء عن جميع المعضلات. It's good for whatever it's good for, but not what Imam Al-Ghazali is seeking. With reason, you can definitely do math. You can do excellent things in chemistry and physics. You can do excellent things in astrophysics. But there is a limit to reason. And this is really one of the issues that one should pay attention to. This is not against reason. This is, again, not against reason. It's about the limitation of reason, of rational thinking. There's a limit. Physics can study that which is. And it's very strange. You'll find biologists and physicists, atheists, who talk about the Big Bang Theory, talk about when time almost was zero. And the talk in itself is metaphysical. It's not scientific. It does not really, reason cannot really grasp that. If it were not for revelation, we would not have understood. But there's something beyond that. I also realize that reason alone is incapable of fully grasping all problems or of getting to the heart of all difficulties. Meanwhile, the Ta'limites, Ta'limiyya, had come into prominence, and their talk of an arcane knowledge. Okay. That which is understood by the few, that which is mysterious, secret. Because the way they advocated their ideas, it was not public. It took place in secrecy. And their talk of an arcane knowledge of the meaning of things derived from the infallible Imam, master of the truth, had been bruited about. It occurred to me that I ought to inquire into their views to find out exactly what their position was. What their position was, this is accurate. It's an accurate translation, uh, simply rendering the Arabic into English. But there is something beautiful in Arabic that sometimes it's beautiful too, because if you say لأطلع على ما في كنانتهم, I would look into, literally, it's the archer's arrow quiver holder, like the bag for arrows that one might put on the shoulder, sideways usually. Okay, in a way that you can pull an arrow after the other. But its force is it is used in Arabic metaphorically. Sometimes they use kinana, sometimes they use, like in this case, على ما في كنانتهم, or جعبة. So what's in there? What's in there? And you know that أرض الكنانة is Misr, is Egypt. The Kinana is also the name of a tribe that lived between Mecca and Taif, so not very far really from Mecca. Amongst the children of Kinana was Abd Manaf, so we talk about really ultimately Quraysh. Mudara, Adnan, their ancestors. Then it happened that a peremptory order reached me from His Highness the Caliph to write a book which would reveal the true meaning of their doctrine, the truth, حقيقة. That's really the true meaning. The true meaning is حقيقة anyhow. يكشف عن حقيقة مذهبهم. I could not contravene that order, and became an external incentive added to my original interior motive. So I began to seek out their writings and to collect their views. I had already been struck by some of their novel utterances, the brainchildren of our own contemporaries, views which were not consonant with the program handed down from their predecessors. I therefore collected and marshaled those utterances, combining thoroughness and accuracy, and answered them at great length. Here we talk about the Imam Al-Ghazali wrote فضائح الباطنية, and which he named after the Caliph, Khalif al-Mustadhar بالله, and he named the book after him, calling it Al-Mustadhari. Which reflects a beautiful relationship between those in office and the scholars. When there is an imminent danger, because it was an imminent danger, when there was an imminent danger to the faith of the Sunnites, you needed Al-Ghazali, of course, before Al-Ghazali, his Professor Al-Juwayni, rahimahullah. It's not only the person; it's really the role. You needed Al-Ghazali, but you needed also the politician who could think of a plan, and that was really the uh, Nizam al-Mulk. And Nizam al-Mulk, he established the Nizamiya schools in major cities of the Muslim world. So you have prominent cities. Nishapur had a Nizamiya, Baghdad had a Nizamiya. Strange enough, Al-Mosul in north of Iraq today, two Nizamiya schools, to my knowledge. So Nizam al-Mulk really knew what he was doing. He wanted to defend the Sunni worldview, the Islamic faith, against the Batinites, against the Talimis, who also did not rely 100% on their ideas. They began a campaign against the politicians and the scholars. That campaign, it was not really to smear their reputation. It was literally to assassinate them, and they did assassinate the Nizam al-Mulk himself, later on Fakhr al-Mulk, his son. So, and this is where we get the word assassin anyhow, Hashashin. Many developments took place. Talk about the Ismailis, talk about the seventh Imamites, the Al-Qurramiyya, Al-Khurramiyya, Sab'iyya. But, I think this is... and nowadays there are countries that support certain... They're still within the Islamic worldview, but, in Turkey they celebrate the Hanafi school. In Saudi Arabia, for a long time, they have celebrated the Hanbali school. In Morocco, they celebrate the Maliki school. In Jordan, they celebrate the Shafi'i school. All these chairs that have been established within the last decade, a little bit more, in Jordan and Palestine, and reflect this outlook. As I said, this you need the politician, you need the leader, the political leader, but you need also the a scholar. Such a cooperation is beautiful. So Imam Ghazali received this order from the Caliph al-Mustadhir Billah, who died in the year 512 of the Islamic Hijri calendar, and that's 7 years after the death of Imam Ghazali. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be merciful to the Ummah of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Imam Ghazali collected and marshaled those utterances, combining thoroughness and accuracy, and answered them at great length. The result was that one of the Sunnites scholars really, found fault with me for overstating their argument. He said this is an effort on their behalf, for they would have been unable to defend their doctrine by such specious arguments, had it not been shubuhat really, had it not been for your pinpointing and marshalling them. This criticism is justified in a way. Long ago, Ahmad ibn Hanbal found fault with Al-Harith al-Muhasibi, God have mercy on them both, for his writing books in refutation of the Mu'tazilites. Al-Harith said, refuting innovation, bid'ah, is a duty. Ahmad replied, yes, But you have first reported their specious argument and then answered it. What assurance have you that a man may not read the specious argument and it will stick in his mind, but he will pay no attention to the answer, or he will study the answer without understanding its real import? Ahmed al Muhammad's remark is true, that's Imam Al-Ghazali's comment, but it concerned a specious argument that had not become widespread and notorious. However, once such an argument becomes widespread, replying to it becomes imperative, and replying is possible only after setting the argument forth. To be sure, one should not burden oneself with a difficulty with which they have not bothered, nor did I do that. On the contrary, I have heard such argument from one of my associates who frequented my company after he had affiliated himself with them and professed their doctrine. He told me they used to laugh at the works of those who wrote in refutation of them. I think one of the major issues will be what we call Tahrir al-Mustalah, because they did use vocabulary, but they have changed the meaning also. So Adam is not anymore Adam. Al-Kaaba is not anymore Al-Kaaba. Okay. Al-Ghusl, for example, the full ablution. The full ablution is reinstating, the pledging the allegiance to the Imam. Again, if one makes a mistake, so we use certain vocabulary, but they have changed the meaning in a way that would never be reconciled with the Islamic worldview. Ghusl is tajdid al-bay' al-imam, which is very, very strange. He then cited that argument relating it, that's the associate of Imam Al-Ghazali, relating it in their own words. So I could not personally be content with having it, thought that I was unaware of their basic argument, and for that reason I presented it. Nor did I want thought of me that even though I had heard the argument, I had not grasped it. And for that reason, I reported it systematically. My aim was to give the fullest account possible of their specious argument, and then to prove its error to the hilt, to the utmost, to the brim, to the to exhaust everything fully. To put it briefly, there is no substance to their views and no force in their argument. Indeed, had it not been for the maladroit defense put forward by the ignorant friend of truth, that innovation, given its weakness, would never have attained its present position. But intense fanaticism led the defenders of the truth to prolong the debate with them over the premises of their argument, and to contradict them in everything they said. Thus, they fought the Ta'limites over their claim that there must be authoritative teaching and an authoritative teacher, and also in their claim that not every teacher is suitable, but that there must be an infallible teacher. And this is really in Shi'ism, the Imams, 12 in the case of the 12th Imamites, 7 in the case of the Ismailis, they would be infallible, where the in the Sunnite worldview, beyond Prophet Muhammad SAW, no one is infallible. And the infallibility, in fact, it's not really, I don't want to diverge, but the uh, the character of the Prophet in the Quran is different from the character of the Prophet in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, prophets do commit grave sins, uh, where the average person should not really do, but at any rate, prophets can make judgmental mistakes, but no grave sins. Their argument showing in the need of authoritative teaching and an authoritative teacher was loud and clear, whereas the counter argument of their opponents was weak. Because of that, many were seduced into thinking that it was due to the strength of the Talimites' doctrine and the weakness of their opponents' doctrine, not understanding that it was really due to the dim-wittedness of the defender of the truth and his ignorance of how to go about it. In fact, the right way to proceed is to acknowledge the need for an authoritative teacher he must also be infallible. But our infallible teacher is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If they say he is dead, we say, and your teacher is absent. Remember, by the time of Imam Al-Ghazali, the last of the Imam al-Ghaib, as they would say, the absent Imam, he would have been for a few centuries in occultation, with the narrative, with the an image, sirdab, and the Shiites literally they await the emergence of the Imam from that sirdab, from that tunnel, that cave, and they address him as if he's living. They greet him on Eid occasions, etc. So if they say he is dead about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, we say, and your teacher is absent. And when they say our teacher has indeed taught his emissaries and scattered them throughout the countries, and he expects them to return to consult him if they disagree on some point or encounter some difficulty, we say our teacher about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has taught his emissaries and scattered them throughout the countries, and he has perfected this teaching. Since God Most High said, "Today I have perfected for you your religion and have accorded you my full favor. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا." Really, the completion of the verse from Surah Al-Ma'idah at the beginning, almost. And once the teaching has been perfected, the death of the teacher works no harm, just as his absence works no harm. There remains their argument. How do you judge about a case you have not heard of by the text, but you have not heard it, or by personal effort and forming your own opinion? But this is the most likely place for disagreement. We reply, We do as Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anh, did when the apostle of God, when the messenger of God, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, dispatched him to Yemen. Uh, in the hadith, it is understood that we judge by the text. If the text exists, meaning by the Quran, the hadith really is about the the first of all, the chain of narrators is weak, but it's something. It is the and it's weak because in the narration, you'll find the text rather than the name of a person. عن أناس من أهل حمص. Okay. من أصحاب معاذ بن جبل رضي الله عنه. أناس من, and that's, there is jahala. This, and this is problematic. There are other, the unknown state of Al-Harith bin Amr at any rate. But the text of the hadith itself is that the Prophet ﷺ, when he wanted to send Mu'adh bin Jabal to Yemen, he asked him, how do you judge like obviously إذا عرض لك قضاء كيف تقضي إذا عرض لك, if you have a case when people come to you and you are going to judge amongst them, how do you do that? He said, I judge by the book of Allah, meaning the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ asked him, if you don't find the case, a relevant text in the book of Allah, he said, then I use فبسنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, I use the sunnah of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. And for the non-Muslim or for someone who is really a beginner or a student of Islam, the sunnah of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم is part, there's reference to the sunnah وما أتاكم الرسول فخذوه وما نهاكم عنه فانتهوا. So by definition, the sunnah is included in the Quran as a source. Then the Prophet ﷺ asked him, if you don't find in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and neither in the sunnah nor in the book of Allah, he said, I exert my effort. أجتهد رأيي ولا آله. Then the Prophet ﷺ hit his chest like a loving, tapping his chest, and said that praise be to God who enabled the messenger, the emissary of the messenger of Allah, for that which pleases the messenger of Allah. This is well-known hadith amongst the scholars of jurisprudence and the usul, and definitely the meaning is 100% sound, regardless of the talk about the chain of narrators, which is still necessary to address. Okay. In fact, Imam Al-Ghazali continues, we do as their emissaries do when they are in lands furthest away from the Imam, for they cannot judge by the text, since limited text cannot exhaust unlimited cases, nor can they return to the Imam's town in each individual case, for by the time they would have covered the distance and returned, the petitioner might well have died and their return would be useless. Now he's responding, refuting the position of the Talimites, who said uh, that the emissary of their Imam would have to go back and consult with the Imam. And remember, even nowadays, if one has to travel a good distance, even if you talk about uh, if it's a long distance, then definitely it would waste time, and people might need the fatwa immediately. Imam Ghazali said the petitioner might well have died, and their return would be useless. It would take months usually to travel the lands of Islam at the time. A man then who has a problem with the Qibla, as an example, has no recourse but to perform his prayer in accordance with his personal judgment. You have to pray. You have to pray. I mean, you cannot wait until some fatwa. Uh, I mean, because the time for prayer is limited. Just to give an example. Okay. I this is before the advent of iPhones, and that they have these compasses and Qibla applications. So I arrived in Rome, in Italy at night, late, and I did not pray my night prayer, and I ended up in a hotel, and I could have asked about the north, south, east, west at the reception, but I didn't. And I looked from the window, and this is night. And it was not. I don't know really the position of the stars and what have you. But I saw that from the window of the hotel. I saw the trees bent in one direction. It was not windy, but over the years, the trees were tilted in one direction, and I thought that it must be that this is the direction of the east, because in general in the Mediterranean area the wind blows from the west to the east, maybe a little bit from the north to the south. It's very rare the other way around. But that's so. If this is really the east, then I have to pray southeast. So I figured out a certain angle, and that it was a conjecture. Now listen to Imam Ghazali when he talks about conjecture. He says, a man then who has a problem about the Qibla has no recourse but to perform his prayer in accordance with his personal judgment. For if he were to journey to the Imam's town to learn about the Qibla, the time for the prayer would elapse. Hence, the prayer performed facing a direction other than the Qibla is lawful when based on conjecture. It is said, the man who errs in personal judgment, in ijtihad really, will receive one reward, and the man who is right will receive a double reward. So it is in all cases involving personal effort, المجتهدات, ijtihad and mujtahadat. It is also true in the case of paying the zakat, the legal alms, to a poor man, for by his personal judgment one may judge the man to be poor, whereas he is really rich, but not outwardly because he hides his wealth. A man so judging will not be blamed for it. Also, don't be naive. Also, don't be naive. Zakah is ibadah, and you should discern as much as possible. People could still hide their. And when people give individuals, an individual might take from two people their zakah, and one might not receive zakah from anyone. This is why you need some central authority, agency, fund, whatever you would like to call it, committee, to take care of the needy. Because once you pitch in, you give the zakat to the central office, then you'll make sure that people do not receive twice or thrice or whatever, and some people will remain without any needy people without any zakah. But this is not about your relatives and people that you know personally who are really in need within your own circle. For by his personal judgment one may judge the man to be poor, whereas he is really rich, but not outwardly because he hides his wealth. A man so judging will not be blamed for it, even though he has because he is blameworthy only for what gives rise to his personal opinion. If your opponent says his adversary's opinion is as good as his, we reply, he is commanded to follow his own personal opinion, just as the man exercising personal judgment about the Qibla must follow his opinion, even though others disagree with him. He may then say, the servile conformist follows the opinion of Abu Hanifa or Shafi'i, God's mercy on both of them, or of someone else. I reply, how should a servile conformist, muqallid, who is confused about the Qibla act when those exercising personal judgment, ijtihad, disagree about it? He will then say it is up to him to exercise personal judgment in finding the man best qualified and most knowledgeable about the indications of the Qibla, and then he must follow that personal judgment. The same is true regarding the various schools. I think this is enough for this session. Inshallah, we'll continue tomorrow with the ta'limis, selling the entry, so still have quite a few pages. Until tomorrow, inshallah. Subhanakallah wa hamdik. نشهد أن أنت أستغفرك وإليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.